Hello everyone, my name is Pastoran and I will be reporting about challenging prejudice and building tolerance. Though humans have become increasingly unkind towards those who differ in terms of race, ethnicity, religion, sex, gender, or socio-economic class. One of the problems in this world is how people think negatively and act to something without any basis or appropriate information. This attitude inflects altering of negative opinions and doing negative acts towards a person. This starts a conflict and worse violence to others. According to Gordon Alport, humans have propensity toward prejudice because of their generalization and categories they experience in this world. So what is prejudice? It's a negative feeling or attitude toward a person or a group even if lacks of basis. So what is stereotypes? It refers to a negative opinion about a person or a group based on incomplete knowledge. So, what is discrimination? It refers to a negative actions towards members of specific social group that may be manifested in avoidance, aversion, and violence. Theories of prejudice. There are diverse theories as the origin, transmission, and maintenance of prejudice. One strong theory on its cause is social learning theory. Prejudice is simply passed along, sometimes for generalization, and it's reinforced in various institutions including family, school, media. Prejudice is said to stem as well from ignorance or from lack of information. It may be also due to one's tendency to think highly of oneself and a group to which one belongs, resulting to the degradation of attributes of others outside it. Types of prejudice. One is racism. The beliefs of one's own cultural or racial heritage is innately superior to that of others, hence, and lack of respect and appreciation for those who belongs to a different race. Racism is when a person is treated worse, include disadvantage, harassment, bullied, humiliated, or degraded because of their race or ethnicity. Next is sexism, a system of attitudes, actions, and institutional structures that subordinates women on the basis of their sex. So, heterosexism, negative attitudes toward lesbians and gay men. Classicism, distancing from and perceiving the poor as the other. Linguicism, negative attitude members of dominant language groups hold against non-dominant language groups. Next is ageism, negative attitudes held against the young or the elderly. Ageism refers to the stereotypes, how we think, prejudice, how we feel, and discrimination, how we act towards others or oneself based on age. Next is lookism, prejudice against those who do not measure up to set standards of beauty. The usual victims are the overweight, the undersized, and the dark skin. Next and the last, religious intolerance, prejudice against those who are not followers of religion other than one's own. So, what is tolerance education? It aims to promote the culture of peace and acceptance of others for well being and diversity management. Therefore, it's important to create learning environments, content, and facilities for tolerance education in line with the universal values in education. So, prejudice may be challenging by teaching tolerance. Tolerance is respect, acceptance, and appreciation of the rich diversity of culture and various forms of human expression. It is a foundation of democracy and human rights. Education for tolerance aims to counter influence that lead to fear, aversion towards, and exclusion of others. Tolerance recognizes that others have the right to be who they are. Why teach tolerance? UNESCO asserts that education is the most effective means of preventing intolerance. There is a need for schools to educate citizens who are appreciative of other cultures, is respectful for human dignity and differences, and able to prevent or resolve conflict amicably. So, nations through international agreements and treaties have affirmed that commitment to protection and promotion of human rights, such as the right to freedom of thought, conscience, religion, opinion, and expression. In addition, educating for tolerance is practically alternative. Intolerance has given rise to violence, terrorism, and discrimination within society. A lack of respect for differences, among other factors, has given rise to conflicts between and among groups, as in cases of the Catholics and Protestants. The World Health Organization 2002 has placed casualties in armed conflicts at 1% every 100 seconds. Teaching for tolerance will aid in protecting human rights and in saving lives. In school, prejudice is seen to have negatively influenced academic achievement and self-esteem. Victims are more likely to drop out of schools. It's also negatively influenced the psychological health of victims because of negative effects on physical health. Sadly, victims internalize every negative views on their abilities that others hold of them, and thus do not live up to their potentials. Levine reports that the usual victims of prejudice in school are those who are not smart, or those who are too smart, those who are on the heavy sides, those who are religion, those whose looks do not meet set standards of beauty, and those who are disabled. Victims are normally included, tended, or physically harmed. According to B. Harrow, assert that humans born with stereotypes and prejudice already in place in the society. These stereotypes and prejudicial attitudes and reinforced in the family and the institution where humans are socialized.
Groups of people and biases against them. Those who are unable to speak good English, often called as bobo, slow, loser, mangmang, ignorant, poor, activist, and from the province. Those who are on the heavy side, often called as pangit, pig, ugly, glutton, and no love life. Those who are too smart are often called as boring, loner, jologs, unfashionable, sip-sip, teacher's pet, condensing, and no social life. Those who are very good looking, often called as bading, mayabang, maarte, slut, social climber, believe sa sarili, bobo, suplado, kikay, and maldita. Those who are from the rural areas or provinces, often called as baduy, unfashionable, uncivilized, jologs, losyang, and ignorant. Those who are fair-skinned, often called as maarte, feeling superior, mayaman, matapobre, and mayabang. Those who are dark-skinned, pangit, ugly, poor, squatter, masamang damo, black sheep, di mapagkakatiwalaan, magnanakaw, or construction worker. Those who are rich, matapobre, condensing, proud, nagtatrabaho sa gobyerno, works for madamot, mapang-api, and maselan. Americans, often called as mayabang, egoistic, manipulator, racist, materialist, arrogant, and feeling superior. Muslims, often called as kidnapper, violent, traitor, terrorist, killer, war freak, bandido or goons, aggressive, and fanatics. Elderly, also often called as self-righteous, all-knowing, sensitive, cranky, strict, useless, and narrow-minded, and old school. Child or youth, often called as stubborn, irresponsible, pasaway, walang alam, mapusok, rebellious, bastos, destructive, and egocentric. Men, often called as boastful, superior, bolero, womanizer, gambler, maniac, basugalero, war freak, lazy, aggressive, and power tripper. Women, often called as emotional, fickle-minded, weak, bungangera, chismosa, flirty, superstitious, materialistic, crybaby, and maarte. Teaching learning ideas. Prejudice is based on self-concerned judgment that there is only one correct way of experiencing the world. Knowing the many ways of being right, as schooling can provide, can help students adopt more enlightened beliefs. Here are some ways to teach and learn tolerance. First, examine your own biases in the classroom. Do you give more favorable attention to students who are physically or socially numerically advantaged? Use inclusive and or not discriminating language as language. Peace education, a pathway to a culture of peace. Shape consciousness, use human instead of man. Give appropriate attention and treat each student fairly regardless of sex or socio-economic status, among others. Examine yourself if you are inclined to give more compliments to those who are more physically attractive, and so on. Highlight the thought that diversity is enriching. Differences should be celebrated. not scorned, as we learn a lot of new things from one another. An analogy would be the fruit salad, which is so delicious even it is made up of different fruits that come in a various flavors and colors. Show a variety of racial and physical features in our teaching aids as well as in our classroom decorations. Examine our textbooks, references, instructional materials, and curriculum course outlines for biased messages about sex, race, ethnicity, and religion. For example, know where our students are. Allow them to reflect on their views about differences below are some insights offered by the Stern, La Rosa, and Bettman. And by the Teaching Tolerance Project, ask your students to write their thoughts for each statements. It is important to see people as individuals rather than as members of an offending group. Healthy self-concepts can neither be developed nor sustained through the devaluation of others. Provide an environment where new and our foreign students would feel welcome. Often transfer students are the object of attention and more often than not. Ridicule among peers, encourage old-timers to befriend and newcomers. Compare and contrast skin colors and stress the beauty of each color and of variety. Here is a sample activity. If there are glaring differences in skin color among young students, otherwise a variation would be used photos that would show different in skin color.
Peace education, a pathway to culture peace. Am I give to others too? That must be given to you and you. We are all persons, we are all gifts. So let's have grand exchange of gifts. Narrate stories of racial or cultural prejudice. The story of Rosa Parks on Mohandas Gandhi. That invite students to take the perspective of victims of prejudice. Sample. The story of Rosa Parks. On December 1, 1955, Mrs. Rosa Parks, a black seamstress, was riding home from work on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Weary from the day's work, she was sitting in the first seat behind the section reserved for whites. The bus filled up more. White passengers boarded, and the bus operator, as required by the segregation laws, ordered her to give her seat to a white man quietly. She refused and was thereafter arrested. Source: Homeless Robert G. Nonviolence in Theory and Practice, C.A. Wordsworth Publishing Company. Ask students how they feel about the story. The students that the world today is composed of groups of divergent tradition, beliefs, and ethnicity. Ask them, what would you have done if you were Rosa Parks? If you were the white passenger? Tell them the intolerance results to conflicts between groups. Ask students to imagine their preferred situation in this incident. How can they contribute to achieving what they prefer? Tell them that the world needs solidarity instead of decision. Challenging prejudice and building tolerance. Invite resources, persons who are from different ethnic, socio-economic, or religious backgrounds to talk about themselves, their work, their hopes, dreams, and aspiration. Inviting the indigenous person involved in peace or human rights advocacy will help light 2 candles with a matchstick. 1. You get to help students enlightened on particular issue. 2. You get students to see communally in diversity. Provide opportunities for students and interact with people they perceive to be different. Gordon Allport, 1958, explained his contact theory that opportunities to interact with the different other may help reduce prejudice. Interaction, immersion, or twinning programs with students from other socioeconomic, cultural, or ethnic backgrounds may prove fruitful. Here's an example for a twinning project. Building bridges of understanding and peace. The twinning project between Miriam College and Raja Moda High School. A twinning project exists between Miriam College, a private Catholic school located in Quezon City, Metro Manila, and Raja Moda High School, or RMHS, a public school attended by Muslims, located in Pikit, Cotabato, a conflict-affected area in central Mindanao. The theme of the project is building bridges of an understanding and peace, and its primarily objective is one to enable both MC and RMHS students to gain a better understanding of each other's culture and to break down the barriers of prejudice that currently exist between Muslim and Christians. Letters have been exchanged between students of two schools and pen friendship have developed. The twinning project has gone beyond mail exchange. A joint newsletter is regularly published that features reflection essays, poetry, and drawing that are contributed by students from both schools. Their contributions showed how they appreciated the experience of writing to each other, developing friendships with one another, realizing the problems of the Raja Moda community because of the armed conflict, and understanding the need for justice. Cooperation, solidarity, and mutual respect and acceptance despite difference. The name of the newsletter is Pag-asa, a word that means hope and is used to both Tagalog and Maguindanao, the language of the students. It is fitting name as hope is an essential element of peace building. A high point of project came when the students were given the chance to meet. The workshop gave the pen friends a venue for dialogue and step further to promote intercultural reconciliation. Indeed, the society we live in has a long list of divides. Like the gaps between differing cultures, religions, and ethnicities, there are gaps that can be narrowed. The two schools embarked on one simple yet meaningful project to address this gap, and we now see they are succeeding gradually in bridging it. Celebrate the United Nations Day in ways other than the parade of costumes. Ask your students to research on dances, games, words, and expressions from the cultures that they may share with their classmates. They may also bring food from cultures and provide a brief description of what they brought. Provide opportunities for students of different faiths or cultural backgrounds to explain their beliefs and practices, and encourage all students to respect these beliefs and practices. Initiate activities where students are affirmed for what they are. The self-fulfilling prophecy theory tells us that people turn to be what others think of them. A good self-esteem is a building block for the promotion of harmonious relationships. Sample activity. Print piece of paper each person's back. Ask everyone to write positive comments about each person in the class. When all are done, ask students to read all the comments that were written their own paper. Ask everyone to give her thoughts and feelings about these comments. Mediate when students are excluded from play or peer groups because of cultural, sexual, religious, or socioeconomic or physical difference. Intervene when remarks made by students are harmful or discriminatory. Women are weak, boys don't cry, poor people are thieves, Muslims are terrorists. Oppose hate and invite your students to interact when people are harassed or hurt for being different. Below and pledge against prejudice, written by Stern La Rosa and Batman 2000. Ask your student if they will be willing to make this personal pledge. Ask why. I pledge from this day onward to do my best to interrupt prejudice and to stop those who because of hate would hurt, harass, or violate the civil rights of anyone. I will try at all times to be aware of my own biases against people who are different from myself. I will ask questions about cultures, religions, and races that don't understand. I will speak out against anyone who mocks, seeks to intimidate, harassment. I will think about specific ways school, other students, and my community can promote respect for people and create prejudice-free zone. I firmly believe that no person can be innocent bystander when it comes to opposing hate. Call students to action. Ask them to complete statements that will help them reflect on what they can correctly do to challenge prejudice and discrimination. An example is to challenge discrimination, I will. Indeed, there are a need to find creative and ethical solutions to the problems of prejudice and discrimination. Prejudice reduction is definitely a daunting task. Among alternatives, education for tolerance is a viable option for those who want to see a world where people live together and peace in the midst of diversity.